Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Get ready to take a trip down memory lane. That table can only mean one thing. We're going to be showing off our Super Nintendo collection at the request of one of our Game of Palooza fans. And let's check out what we have here. I mean, the first thing that we'll probably start off with is, of course, the game Genie. And just for a bonus, if we have enough time, we'll show off the Super Nintendo along with the Super Famicom stuff as well. So we also have a Super Game Boy. These are things I'm just going to show you to get out of the way. Of course, my phone. Let's see if we can make that shut up for a second. Password, that's ridiculously long. Alright, there we go. That's on mute. Alright, so we also have one of these guys. This is a Super Famicom, Super Game Boy, which is essentially the same thing as this, but the Japanese version. And you can see that the cartridges are shaped completely different. This one looks more like a Nintendo 64 cartridge. And yes, I do have a Super Famicom and a Super Nintendo separate, because I don't feel like damaging the Super Nintendo in order to play Japanese cartridges. So let's start with the games. I guess we'll start with a little bit at a time, because I don't have the biggest table in the world, as you can see right here. And the funny thing is, you can see like all of my Super Nintendo games back there. So I'm gonna go through a little bit at a time. We have what is this? Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, and this game is actually probably really good on the Super Nintendo. You can see some fist punching action right there on the front cover. It's pretty cool. So we'll put that right there. And I also have all my games inside these plastic cases. We have Sonic Blast Man, and these are real authentic copies. You can see this one's yellow on the back, oxidized. With the pins, everything's all cleaned. Made by Taito. Look at the lead bar. You got the lady on the bottom with the big boobs, and you got this guy getting uppercutted right in the face. This guy over here has the boxing gloves, Sonic Blast Man. It's actually a pretty cool beat 'em up game. Yeah, one of my favorite launch titles, Pilot Wings. Look at this. And just for the hell of it, on what's that site, AliExpress, they sell a lot of weird multi-carts and weird homebrew games. I ordered a couple of things off of that site, so eventually we'll be taking a look at that, because there's a lot of weird stuff that you can get for Sega Genesis, NES, and different things like that. So once I get that stuff in the mail, which might take like 6 months, who knows, then we'll definitely take a look at that. So you never know what you're going to see. We got Paperboy right here. Paperboy Part 2, that is. And let's take a look at how happy that Paperboy is. He looks like he's doing a Papa Lily right there, and he's carrying like 2 bags of papers. And he's wearing some Nikes. Look at that. And then we have this game right here. Super Adventure Island for the Super Nintendo. And you got the main character right there, almost like wearing like a Super Mario type hat. And he looks like he's going to kill himself jumping out of that cart right there. And we have a snake, dragon looking creature that's inside the mine. Look at this. This looks nuts. Cool little game right there. Then we have Tetris 2, and any Tetris game that you play is pretty awesome. Tetris is a great puzzle game, probably one of the best of all time. So one thing that you can thank Russia for. And just check that out right there. Got some nice Tetris action going on the label art. Then we got one of my all-time favorites right here. The first game I've ever played on Super Nintendo. Super Mario All-Stars. You got Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, and Japanese number 2, the Lost Levels. And a very, very cool looking label art right there. You got all kinds of stuff going on. You got all the classic Super Mario box arts right there, illustrated into the box art. And can't get any better than that. That looks pretty cool. Then we have ourselves World Wrestling Federation Royal Rumble, made by LJN. And look at that, you got Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. Now look how much taller Shawn Michaels is compared to Razor Ramon. There's something wrong there. You got Yokozuna. You got Mr. Perfect with a photoshopped chair in his hands. He's definitely not really holding that chair. It looks really weird. Look at that. Are those really his hands? You got the Undertaker, and you got a giant Bret the Hitman Hart, who happens to be much taller than the Undertaker. And of course you get the classic Royal Rumble logo right there. That is definitely the best Royal Rumble logo. So we're only getting started right here. Let's I guess start over here. Now what I'll probably do is put these back. I'm going to do one section at a time, as I mentioned. It's easier for us to go through one section at a time here. So just so you guys know, these are what the little plastic cases are that I put my games in. So we'll start off here. We have World Heroes, which is similar to Street Fighter but made by SNK. And I personally like this game quite a bit. You can see that I make my own end labels. And I put Fighter, or Fighting, in 1993, which is the year it was released. And we have World Heroes 2. I like World Heroes 1 so much that I got the second one, Takara. Takara ported a lot of Neo Geo games to the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. We have Yoshi's Safari, which you have to use the scope gun. I currently don't have the scope gun, but have the game. Then we have Young Merlin. And I believe this is like a little bit of an RPG adventure type game. You can see it says Adventure 1994, Young Merlin. It has a little Super Nintendo little thing going on there. And of course we have another Tetris right here. We got Tetris Attack. And basically this nasty looking Tetris block coming down, and who knows what's going to happen there. We got Puzzle 1996 Tetris Attack. And then we have an obscure LGN game, and I'm actually a fan of LGN games in the same fashion that the LGN Defender, I don't know if you've ever seen his videos, but he loves LGN games, and this is definitely a good LGN game right here. True Lies, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you can see the awesome LGN logo. This is a pretty cool Super Nintendo game's top-down view. And basically it's a pretty decent amount of violence. It's pretty fun. And then we have Top Gear, made by Kemco. And, this game's actually not bad. It's actually a nice basic racer on the Super Nintendo. And you definitely see on the label cover art right there that you have a very, very exotic sports car. It's like a, I don't know what the hell kind of car that is. I'm not a car expert. And then we have Weapon Lord for the Super Nintendo. And I guess this is like a Namco fighting game, kind of similar to Soul Calibur, but it does seem a bit harder. And that's what the cartridge looks like. I was never good at that game, but it's actually pretty cool. Alright, so let's take a look at what we have here. There's so many Super Nintendo games. Let's see if you can keep a count, because I still don't know exactly how much I have. We have Super Ghouls and Ghost, made by Capcom USA. That's definitely probably my top favorite Super Nintendo game. It's very, very hard. Then we have Super Mario Kart. And that's very, very cool looking illustration right there. That's awesome. And we have Super Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo. Look at that. And I like how this smashes through the bricks right there. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And then we have Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. It's in pretty good shape. We have Super Buster Brothers. Is that correct? Yep. It's one game that I actually never really played too much, but it's made by Capcom. And the reason why I never really played it too much is because I bought like a huge lot from this guy. And now, like, I cleaned all his games off, got them working, and most of them are like mixed in with my games, and I still have not played like pretty much anything that I bought from this guy. We have Super Adventure Islands Part 2 by Hudson Soft. You can see that it's in really good shape. We have a nice old classic version of SimCity for the Super Nintendo, and it's a player's choice, which means that quite the popular game back then. Alright, let's go grab some more games here. Never know what you're gonna see, so let's check out. Oh, almost got tied up on the camera. We got ourselves an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, for Mortal Kombat 3 that is, yet. Midway, this is definitely a pretty cool version of Mortal Kombat. We have Winter Olympics Games. Now that's something that maybe we should play. It's gonna be winter soon. Now here's something we should try out. I completely forgot I had this game. It's Williams Arcade Greatest Hits. Got some classic arcade games right there. Got Defender, Joust. I can't quite make out the other ones, but I'll have to check that out one day. And of course we have Zoop. This is the one game that came out on like every single system imaginable. And it has like that really obscure, crazy looking logo. It looks like something that came straight out of the 90s. Early 90s, late 80s. Look at that. Alright, now we have a copy of Star Fox using the Super FX chip. You can see right there, got Star Fox with his little pants standing there. Look at that. And we have Tiny Toons Adventures Busters Bust Loose, made by Konami. Never played it. This is another one of those games that came with that lot. And then we have Temco Super Bowl, made by, of course, Temco. Got that pissed off football player right there. And I'm not into football, so I'm not sure. It looks like a Dallas Cowboy player. You see his teeth is grinning right there. Look at it, he was pissed off. Completely forgot I had this game. Uniracer, or Uni Racers. It's a really, really weird platformer game. It's really interesting. We should try that out one day. Let's see what else I have. Make sure you're keeping count, because I can't count. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have more stuff coming up. And the pile is getting bigger and bigger, and this is only probably 1/3 of the collection. We got Super Mario World. It's definitely probably the most common Super Nintendo game. And we have Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. This is not a common game at all, but happen to have it. Now here's one that's interesting that I got my hands on. This came with the big ass lot that I bought. Super Mario RPG. Legend of the Seven Stars. And it's an authentic real copy. You can see that it's still a little dirty on the bottom. I have to probably clean that again. And then we have a slightly worn out copy of Secret of Mana. And they definitely cleaned it the best they could, but it definitely still looks a little worn out. Then we have a Secret of Evermore by Squaresoft. Now these are RPG games. I have no interest in playing them, but I don't mind having them in my collection. And then we have a Speed Racer. I definitely enjoyed the Speed Racer cartoon. Completely forgot I had this in my collection. Now that I'm looking at my collection here, I just don't... That must have came from that big huge lot I bought. So I don't remember having that game. And we have a Spider-Man versus X-Men The Revenge. Is that correct? Arcade's Revenge. And now that's one whole section right there. Look at that. So now we're going to have to put these back the best that we can. It's going to be a little tricky. So we're trying to get these back to where they were before so that we can grab the next pile. You can see that I've been collecting Super Nintendo games for quite a long time. It took a little while for me to accumulate this much. And it took a long time for me to come across the guy that wanted to sell his whole collection. Eventually I bought this guy's whole collection, which was pretty crazy. Alright, so we got those put back where they belong, and now I'm going to be grabbing more games over here from the second shelf. And there's there's actually more than 3 shelves of Super Nintendo games. It's really crazy. Alright, here we have Primal Rage for the Super Nintendo. And one of my favorites, Saturday Night Slam Masters. A pretty awesome Capcom wrestling game. I wish they would have continued making that for consoles. And we have a sports game, which I don't really have too many of. The NHL Stanley Cup. And then we have a nice, awesome Pac Man game here. Pac Man 2, The New Adventures. Made by Namco, of course. It's definitely a interesting game here. We got Pitfall: The Main Adventures. Now this is one of those Pitfall games, like if you're going from Atari to that, it's going to be very, very complicated and crazy because I enjoyed the Atari one better. Got the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, made by Bandai. And of course we have a classic, crappy version of Mortal Kombat here. That's definitely the Sega Genesis version is better. But I still own the Super Nintendo version. And of course, once the second Mortal Kombat came out, things got a little bit better on the Super Nintendo. And then the third one came out, and definitely Super Nintendo probably had the edge at that point. Alright, so let's see what else we have here. Final Fantasy III Squaresoft. I mean, look at this. It's a nice authentic copy of Final Fantasy III. I don't know exactly how much that's worth or the value of it, but that's what I have. We have Gradius, nice, awesome old school shooter. We got King of the Monsters 2, another awesome Takara game. As mentioned, they ported a lot of Neo Geo games over, so you didn't have to spend like $1,000 on Neo Geo equipment and cartridges. So everybody can be very, very thankful to Takara for that. And The Legend of Zelda: A Link's to the Past. Pretty good shape. And of course we got ourselves a copy of The Lion King. Now speaking of The Lion King, on that AliExpress website I saw like some weird homebrew strange bootleg copy of The Lion King 2 and 3, which looked really weird. So maybe, who knows, in the future we might check that out. And this is another, appears to be some sort of Taito RPG type thing. Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. What is this game? RPG. So that's that. We got more games coming here. This is insane. There's a lot of games. Got a strategy game right here. It's King Arthur's World, made by Jellicoe. And of course we got King of the Monsters 1 by Takara. And Takara is definitely one of my favorite developer publishers for 16-bit consoles. Illusion of Gaia, another RPG game that's quite obscure, kind of probably hard to get hold of for a North American Super Nintendo. Here's a nice hidden gem, the Ignition Factor. It's like a firefighter game, you have to run around, put fires out. Pretty good game. Then we have a copy of Kirby's Avalanche. Check that out. And there goes my copy of Kirby Avalanche. Hopefully that still works. Alright, so we have ourselves a copy of Kirby Superstar 8 Games in 1. I think I definitely remember playing that. That's actually pretty fun. And we got more Kirby games here. Kirby's Dream Course. We have a lot of Kirby games. We have to reorganize this afterwards. We have Lufia 2. What's that say? The Rise of something. Rise of, what the hell does that say? Sinistro. So anyways, that's an RPG game. If you guys are into RPGs, you know what that is. You know, of course we have our stuff, a copy of Mario Paint. Alright, so we're towards the end of the second shelf here. Let's got a nice clean copy of Megaman X, which I actually forgot I even had this. Honestly, I didn't think I had any Mega Man games on Super Nintendo, but apparently I do. I think my collection of Super Nintendo games is a bit bigger than what I realized. You got Nickelodeon Guts. We have a NBA Jam for the Super Nintendo. This is the Tournament Edition. Got Super Punch Out. Yeah, look at that, Super Punch Out. If you enjoyed Punch Out on the NES, you'll enjoy that. And we got Rocco's Modern Life. Spunky's Dangerous Day for the Super Nintendo. One of those crazy Viacom games. And then, of course, we have ourselves Bart Simpson's Nightmare for the Super Nintendo. Alright, so now we have to somehow get all these games back on the shelf. So let's see if we can do that without getting things all mixed up here. It's going to be a little crazy, but we'll just reorganize these games afterwards. Let's see what time it is here. So we have to get all these back on here. When I come back later, I will reorganize the games and put them back into where they need to be. Let's see here. Oh my god, everything's falling down. What the hell? You see how much work this is? This is a lot of work. And also, if you have this much games, be prepared to dust a lot. It's a lot of dusting. Of course, one of the games fell right there, so the Lion King fell. So let's get that on the shelf. Hope you guys enjoyed that debacle. Okay, so the third shelf we have Frogger. For a second I was just looking at the time I have left on my recording. This camera limits me to like 30 minutes. We have Fatal Fury, another awesome Takara game. Fatal Fury 2, another awesome car game. Now this was probably a rental at one time. We have a copy of Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo, as you can see there. We have a nice black cartridge copy of Killer Instinct, and this looks like it might have been a rental. You have all these rental stickers, or this warning stickers on it. And we have a copy of Earthworm Jim for the Super Nintendo, as you can see there. Now here is the granddaddy of them all. A nice authentic copy of Earthbound for the Super Nintendo, and this is a real copy. This is not a reproduction or nothing like, you know, some fake crap. This is actually a real authentic copy of Earthbound, and I have the strategy guide that goes with it. So yeah, check that out. And we have Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Eye of the Beholder, made by Capcom. It's a pretty cool dungeon crawler. And we have a game called Equinox, made by Sony. And this game came out on the Super Nintendo before the PlayStation existed. Alright, let's see what else we have here. You have an Arcana manual. There's a little bit of a spoiler right there. We have another Takara game right here, Art of Fighting, and I love fighting games on the Super Nintendo. We got Bubsy, and probably not the greatest game in the world, but I have it. We have ourselves a Breath of Fire, made by Squaresoft. And another one of those RPG games, and we have Breath of Fire 2 right here. Now these RPG games tend to go for a lot of money. Another series of games that I love playing is beat 'em up games. So we got Techno's the Contra Bribes. What is this? Contra Bribes, Combat Tribes. That is. I don't know why I said Contra. I don't know why. Do they look like Contra to you? Because I don't know. It's Combat Tribes. That's what it's called. It's completely ignored that I said that. And we have the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin. Alright, so we're getting towards the end right here. We got F-Zero. I'll probably take that disgusting sticker off one day. Full Throttle. It's one of those weird, obscure, not so good racing games. It costed $4.99 from someplace, I don't know where. Got Final Fight. Nice beat 'em up game, of course. It's not that uncommon. You have Donkey Kong Country 2. Which, of course, we did a Game Genie video on that. And Donkey Kong Country 3. I was thinking about making my own episodic series on cheat codes and Game Genie codes. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. So, it'll probably be a lot of work, but I'll probably do it if you guys are interested. The Jungle Book. We got Timon and Pumbaa. Jungle Games. It's another one of those crazy obscure Disney games made by THQ. And what do we have here? We have Dungeon Masters, and of course on the front label they don't even write Dungeon Masters, so you have to look at this side right here. It's kind of like your Sega Genesis games. They don't sometimes write the logo on the front. Then we have Donkey Kong Country Part 1. And we're getting towards the end here. And then we have Chrono Trigger. Chuck Rock. Brawl Brothers, and I have like 20 seconds left, and we're getting there. And we have Bugs Bunny Rabbit Rampage. And of course, the spoiler from earlier, Arcana, however you say that. And the Addams Family Values. That is the North American collection of Super Nintendo games. Alright, so moving right along, we're going to be showing off the Super Famicom Japanese Super Nintendo games right here. We have ourselves Battle Dodgeball for the Super Famicom. See, the cartridges definitely look different, the labels are bigger. Battle Dodgeball 2. You see I had to write the translation on the side because I honestly don't know what the hell that says. This helps me identify. We have Dragonball Z, Super Budokan Batuk. Let's just put that down. I completely fail at saying that. But you can see what it says right there. Butoden 3. Super Butoden 3, I think that's what that says. That was a complete fail. They'll be laughing at me. Got Astro Bout. We got Drift King, Battle 2. It's like a obscure racing game. That's what the label looks like, just so you guys can see. I don't want to. Got some cool Dragon Ball Z stuff going on there. Here's I believe a beat 'em up game. This is the Cosmo Police Calivan 2 Arrow of Justice. Just so you guys can see that. It's an interesting beat 'em up game. And we have Final Fight 2. I got this because it was much less expensive to buy the Japanese copy versus the American copy. And it's probably better anyways. Usually the Japanese copy of that game is better. And here's a really obscure, weird thing that I came across one day. It was a WWF Royal Rumble, a Japanese copy of it, which I thought was really interesting. And if you look at it, the label art is completely like reversed. So instead of Bret Hart being on this side, he's on that side instead. You get the same horrible Photoshop of Mr. Perfect holding the chair, but it's in a complete different direction this time. And it looks like, let me see here. I don't want to get too much into that. We'll look at that another day. We have this Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling, which is, I believe, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Some sort of wrestling game, which I thought was really interesting. And then we have this other wrestling game from a Japanese superstar, Tenryu. So I'm trying to read it off the camera, that's why I'm having a hard time. Tenryu. This is Pro Wrestling Revolution. And it's made by Jellico. I'm having a hard time reading today, I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. But that's what it says right there. I actually typed all these things out, translated everything. I wouldn't be able to go to Japan because I'm horrible at pronouncing their names and their words and stuff like that. So you have Fire Pro Yoshi All-Star Dream Slam. This is like a Japanese Fire Pro wrestling game featuring female wrestlers. And we have ourselves a Godzilla game. And I believe that says Kaiju Daikasen. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably already... Some people are going to be writing some nasty things to me down below for my mispronunciation of words. And we got WWF Super WrestleMania for the Super Famicom, which I thought was actually pretty interesting. You got the acclaimed Japanese logo right there, that's cool. And just check that out. And then we have this one right here, GQ Pro Wrestling 96 Max Voltage. And you have a little sticker right here that says book off. You can see Max Voltage is in English, but the rest of it's not. And we have Tuku, The Legend of Bishin, or Toku. It's either Tuku or Toku. probably Toku. Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Final Bout. Then we have this weird cartridge, Super Tetris 2 Bombless. So I'm not sure if that's 2 games on 1 cartridge or what that is. Then of course I had to pick up Megaman Soccer, or in Japan it's known as Rockman's Soccer. And if you find the US copy of that, it's very, very expensive. Then we have a copy of Ultraman for the Super Famicom. Now, at least I can say that. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Ultraman is Ultraman. Look at that. And then we got another Ultraman game called Ultra 7. You can see that. And Ultraman's quite the popular thing over in Japan. We got Yu Yu Hakusho 2 Hakutu no Shu. I believe that's how that's pronounced. I have no idea what that is. Here's another thing right here is Kinekumin Dirty Challenger, and this is a wrestling game. As you can see there, we'll just refer to it as the Dirty Challenger. So a lot of crazy Japanese names here. And here's like a Fist of the North Star type game. We got the Hakuto no Ken 7 Fist of the North Star. Apparently there's a lot of those games. Hello Pac Man for the Super Famicom, which I think might be the same thing as Pac Man Adventures or whatever the hell the other. Basically, I have the American copy over here. I believe it's the same thing. And we have a Japanese copy of Harvest Moon for some reason. And The Great Battle, Last Fighter Twin. And we're not done yet. We have a New Japan Pro Wrestling 94 Battlefield in Tokyo Dome. We got some pretty cool 90s Japanese stars right there. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Shusenshi in Tokyo Dome, and you got the Jushin Liger. And I think that's a Great Muta. Aranma, 1/2, Hard Battle. So some weird names here, but it's some sort of Japanese Super Famicom game that I own, and I don't know exactly what it is. I have to go through these games one day and play them. And this is a Super Mario All-Stars, the Japanese version of it. And that's what that looks like. And of course, the US version of Super Mario 2 is called Mario USA. You got Super Mario World. Now their label art is pretty insane. As you can see, there's a lot of big, huge collage going on there. It looks pretty cool. And you can see right there, they call it Super Mario Bros. 4 Super Mario World. So this is technically Super Mario Bros. 4 over in Japan. And we got Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. And there's no mention of this game being Super Mario Bros. 5. You don't see that anywhere on here. And then we have a Super Wang Yang Land. What the hell kind of game is this? It's a frog. Look at that. Some sort of mechanical looking frog thing. It's made by Namcot, which over here is known as Namco. I have no idea what that is, but you can see that the cartridge is oxidized. And what is this? Looks like someone in Japan put their name on the damn cartridge. I hate when people do that. I guess over in Japan they do that too. Son of a bitch. Got Hokuto no Ken 6. Fist of the North Star. Let's look at how pissed off he looks. He looks like he's gonna punch someone in the face. Dodge Dampe. This is Honu no Dukui. I can't pronounce the last word. I'm not even gonna bother trying. But it's a dodgeball game. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on one cartridge, which is in Japanese. And over in Japan, Dragon Quest 3. I don't even know why I have this, because you can't play it in English. Fatal Fury Special, made by Takara. Picked up some Takara games over in Japan. And of course the Japanese copy of Fatal Fury 2, which I already have the American copy, but what the hell. And then we have Final Fantasy USA Mystic Quest, which I don't know why it's the US version of it, but it is. It has the American colors, the red, white, and blue, and it says USA, and it says Mystic Quest. I don't know the background on that, but if you would like to fill me in down below, let me know why that was a USA version of Final Fantasy. And we have Onita Atsushi FMW, and this is Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. This is a very violent wrestling promotion back in Japan in the 90s, probably late 80s also. He's a very, very famous hardcore Japanese wrestler. And for years, I had no idea that this even existed. And then when I saw it, it's like, oh my god, I must buy this. This is incredible. An FMW wrestling game, but it's not what you think. It's not really a wrestling game. It's more of a fighting game. I made a video on this a while ago, so you can definitely go check it out. But that right there is my whole Super Nintendo collection. And I hope you were keeping count, because I did not. Please do not say anything about me mispronouncing words, especially the Japanese stuff, because I don't speak Japanese. That's the reason why I made these end labels. So if you enjoyed this episode of Memory Lane and you want to see more on my gaming collection, I saw someone wants to see my PlayStation collection next, I'll do that next. And let me know what else you want to see. I have the N64 collection, I'll eventually show that off. The Atari 2600 collection, GameCube, Dreamcast. I already showed off the Sega Saturn. I got the PS2 collection. We got Nintendo 3DS, DS collection, the original Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Wii U, got a whole bunch of stuff here. Game Boy and Game Gear, how about that? So yeah, stay tuned for another episode of Memory Lane, and don't forget to comment down below and let me know what you think. And if you own a Super Nintendo, down below, write down what you have, like what collection you have.